joy is the new black. Do you know what I mean? Like, it goes with everything. And we have to take that back. We have to do whatever we can in our own lives to go after our joy, no matter what our parents say, no matter what our lover says, no matter what our boss says or anyone else. If this thing is veering me this far away from joy, I gotta find my way back. And sometimes it takes a plan. You can't just drop everything and drop everyone. It takes a plan, but you can get back to joy. And I think that's what I want my legacy to be. I want someone to be able to say that Paul Wharton helped me find my way back to joy.
No matter where you come from or what challenges you face, remember that you have the power to transform your life. We're bringing you the most inspiring stories and voices from authors who are indeed powerful forces for the culture in their work. These interviews will keep you believing in yourself, inspire you to keep pushing forward, and most importantly, never ever stop dreaming. It's your boy Kolby, and this is the Kolby Kulture Show. Welcome back to the Kolby Kulture Show, where we talk with the people shaping culture, confidence, creativity, and how we show up in the world. I'm your boy, Derrick Washington, but around here, you know me as Kolby. And today's guest is someone who lives in the intersection of style, media, and joyful self-expression. Paul Wharton is a stylist, a television personality, lifestyle expert, and author whose influence in fashion, beauty, and personal confidence extends far beyond outfits. He's helped so many people, from public figures to everyday individuals, show up in ways that feel like them, not like someone else's version of correct. Paul's book, Pulling It All Together, Essential Style Advice on Being Beautiful, Confident, and most of all, happy, brings that philosophy to the page, showing how style isn't just about clothes, it's about how you carry yourself in the world. Today, we're talking about style as identity, confidence, culture, and evolution. Paul, welcome to the Kolby Kulture Show. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kolby. That introduction was phenomenal. As my mother would say, it is an honor and a privilege sitting here with you today.
Likewise, it's an honor and privilege to have you on the show. Well, let's go back for the industry titles, the media credits, the TV work. When did you first realize you were noticing things about how people presented themselves, not just what they wore, but who they were in their bodies?
Well, that's so interesting. I'm one of those people that reflects often on childhood because I knew very early on that I was a little bit different from the other kids in school. I don't know, for some of the people that follow me, they know I made this candle called Aunt Vera's Rolls Royce. All right. So let me take you back. My mom's best friend growing up, Aunt Vera. There are two Black women running around DC having the time of their lives. Aunt Vera drove a brand new green Rolls Royce Silver Shadow. And whenever I saw that Rolls Royce parked down on the bottom of our hill, we lived up on a big hill, would run to the house. Aunt Vera's here. Aunt Vera's here. Aunt Vera really appreciated, my parents did as well, but Aunt Vera really appreciated all of my eccentricities as a young kid. She knew I liked style. She knew I knew how to put outfits together. And she talked to me with a lot of respect and kind of like an adult. And I was having one of those moments as young gay people do, before that they know whatever. I knew I was gay, probably even at 4 or 5 years old. But I was having one of those moments where the kids at school were just being really mean. And one evening, Vera was there talking to me, and I confided in her, "Oh gosh, school tomorrow. Oh, it's stressed." She said, "What do you have to be stressed out about? You're like 8. What do you care?" And I'm like, "Oh gosh, I'm dreading it." And Aunt Vera kind of let me off the hook without too much explanation, which is something that I've adapted in my own life. Okay, I got you. I know just what to do. And Aunt Vera started picking me up for school in that fabulous green Rolls Royce. And she would say, "You want to go to the bus stop or you want to go all the way to school?" And some days I'd go to the bus stop, some days I'd go all the way to school. But on the days Aunt Vera would pick me up, I'd get up for school. I'd have on, let's just say I wanted a cowboy theme that day, okay? And I'd put on my big cowboy belt and my boots, and I would really just be feeling like I had the total package. And Aunt Vera would pull me up to the bus stop in that Rolls Royce, and I'd get out, and all the kids, especially the bullies, would, click and roll down the window to the bus, and they'd say, "Oh my God, it's a Rolls Royce," and I would strut up to the bus. And all of a sudden, I was perceived as cool. But really what it was is it just kind of unburdened me, at least for the moment, maybe even for the full day. So I started to realize very early on how people's perception of you, whether that be your clothes or the way you present yourself, how smart you are, how kind you are, really does shape the way that people respond to you. And it really does kind of shift your experience. Yeah, I knew pretty early on.
Love that. Shout out to all the Aunt Veras in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
So you built a career in an industry that can be incredibly intimidating and highly subjective. When did you figure out what your lane was, and how did you trust that voice without copying anyone else?
Well, that's so interesting. That the lane, I talk about the lane a lot. I have a great aunt Barbara. So my grandmother who just passed last year, she was 98, grandmother Louise. Oh gosh, we were so close. So it's one of her sisters, my great aunt Barbara, and she has this saying where she always says whenever anybody is expressing that they are concerned about, oh, they can't make this thing happen, whether it's one of the dishes at Thanksgiving and they feel like they're going to be judged, or whether it is literally getting in their car and making it to this destination as like an older woman. Aunt Barbara just always like, you know what? Just get in your car and stay in your lane. Just stay in your lane. And when you really think that simply about it, you're like, yeah, maybe I should just stay in my lane. The problem comes in when you try to become all these other things. I think very early on, when I was about 12 years old, I discovered that, you know what? I kind of need to get a life outside of school as a 12-year-old
Mhm,
because
mhm.
hadn't quite found my tribe in school. I wanted to always maintain my uniqueness and be an individual, and I've never been a follower. I've always been a
Mhm.
leader, even if I just have to lead myself. I count myself as someone to lead because sometimes
Yeah.
people can be led astray. So I found this modeling agency called New Model. They were in Crystal City, Virginia, and I became very close to the owner. And she hired me to be one of her models, and I would go on these castings for kids, and I would always land the jobs. And one thing I did realize, even in going on these jobs and going on these castings, is I was a self-aware kind of guy, and I knew a very marketable look. I didn't know that my look was traditional. I was certainly cute kid, and I was stylish and such. There were other kids that I thought could have gone a lot further than me as models, but they didn't know how to land the job. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
I mean, I went
yeah.
in there with serious charisma, total personality, not giving them too much, not giving them too little. I wanted to be the kind of person that people wanted to hang out with for 16 hours on a big photo shoot. And I thought,
Mm,
you know what? If I can show these people that I'm someone that is really fun to be around for these 12 to 16-hour shoots, that along with the looks that I do have, along with my sense of style and my ability to take a great picture and my walk of confidence, I think I can land this job. And I did.
yeah.
So a short time later, right? A short time later, Cynthia's husband, he was in the health club business and he got this offer that he couldn't resist and he struck it rich in this business. And she said, I don't want to do the agency anymore. But I was just starting to kind of find myself and my confidence was really going through the roof. So I went to my mother and I said, Mother, I really want you to buy this modeling agency because Cynthia is now, she's super rich. She doesn't want to work anymore. And I really want to keep working. And I think my mom was like, I don't want to do that. Are you kidding me? I don't want to do that. I said, Mother, please. So she did. We put a line into the house. I made on the answering machine, I said, this is new model, leave your address, and I will send you a brochure. And I'm going to teach your kid how for $99, unlimited sessions, I'm going to teach them how to pose and how to walk and how to go on castings and how to land the job. So every Sunday, I'd place an ad in the Washington Post. The calls would come in on Monday. I would get their addresses and information. I call them back to let them know, send out the brochure. I do that on Monday and Tuesday after school. And then on Wednesday, I'll start confirming my clients for the weekend. And then every Saturday, I was over at Stouffer's Crystal City Hotel, and I had to have an adult come and sit next to me so the people would take me seriously. But really, it was my thing. And so I
Mhm.
did that from the time I was 13 to the time I moved to New York at 19. And in that, not only did I have start to understand how being an entrepreneur worked and how running a business worked, but also with that much repetition and that much consistency, it gets embedded in there. I knew that I could change people's outcome by helping them discover the best version of themselves very early. And that's how I started, and I realized I didn't have to follow anyone else. I could kind of chart my own path, and we could all get where we needed to go.
Oh, that's so amazing. Wow. So you worked with all kinds of people, everyone from public figures, media personalities to everyday professionals. What's the biggest misconception people bring into style when they first come to you?
Well, I would say the biggest misconception that people bring into style is too much of a diversion away from their authentic self. For those of you that know my life or that follow me on Instagram or whatever, you may know that I'm very close with Whoopi Goldberg. She's a close family friend. She's a close personal friend of mine. We spend a lot of time together. We really are there for each other. What's one thing you know about Whoopi Goldberg's style? She's not walking onto the set of That View in uncomfortable 4-inch heels, wearing a business suit or a little skirt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoopi is Whoopi. Whoopi
Yes.
wears exactly what she likes. She knows her style. She knows in order to do her job, she needs to be comfortable. And so she does anything she needs to do to accomplish her goal, which is every day I'm going to go on that show and I'm going to give America the very best that I have. So I think that, yes, is it fun at the Oscars, the Golden Globes, special events, a really great photo shoot to dress up and become something else? Absolutely. But I think the best advice that anyone that is either a stylist or just stylish and open to giving you their opinion, the best advice they could really give you is to stay true to who you are and start by just enhancing parts of that, your skincare regimen, your makeup routine, your hair being as glorious and lovely as possible. The best quality of clothes that you can afford, but stay true to who you are through your style because that's how people are going to treat you.
Yeah, that's such good advice. And when someone walks into a room, what's the first thing that you notice about them that most people will miss?
Well, when someone walks into a room, I think the first thing I notice about them is how they feel about themselves. I think I would notice their self worth. As someone that is in rooms with people that are celebrated and people that, the public has all of these kind of preconceived ideas about, if someone walks into the room and they're super bossy, super controlling, they demand the attention, they're super loud. My dad has a saying. He's been telling me this since I've been a little boy. He says, son, you can always be magnanimous. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to have the last word. And you don't always have to be right. All right. So those three things. You don't have to be the loudest. Remember, all that, hey, 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 everybody, I'm here, I'm here. They'll know, they'll feel the energy shift. If you come in there with the best energy possible, with the best of intentions. Like, I'm coming into this space to heal someone that just needs a kind word, to connect with someone that feels overseen. They feel like they're invisible, but I'm going to connect with that person. I'm going to give them a little eye contact. I might even grab their arm or touch their hand. Things like that make a huge difference. So when it is about me, loud, 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 that turns me off from people. So I pretty much know to stay away from that kind of person whenever I'm in that kind of setting.
Yeah, so good, so good. One of the things that I appreciate about your work is how you always talk about confidence as the real accessory. And so in your experience, what's the relationship between how someone dresses and then how they see themselves?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I was thinking back in this question about my early days in New York City. And I think that my dad always gave me advice. Well, son, whatever you're going to do, he's in construction, think of it as a business. Think of yourself as a brand, even before people were talking about brands.
Yeah.
And so I remember the days in the early part of my life in New York where I would go into Prada and I would go into Bergdorf Goodman and I would be buying, Comme des Garçons, cashmere, and I would be buying, Dior glasses and everything had to have a label. I mean, everything had to. I was 19 years old. I got my first Birkin bag. Okay. So I'm not new.
Mm.
I had a Birkin at 19, okay, a 40 cm gold with gold hardware, bought it off Madison Avenue in New York City. But the confidence wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? I needed those labels at the time because I was still becoming a young man. Going from
Yeah,
being a boy to being a young man, went to New York City, all this is going on. And so I knew where I wanted to end up. I knew what a solid self-confidence kind of looked like, but I wasn't quite there. So I needed the labels. And over the years, just as you're preparing for these different events and people would say, "What are you going to wear?" Before you get me years ago and I'm laying out the whole outfit for you. Oh my God, I had this suit made and I bought this vintage Dior from the other than the Prada thing and the Dolce and Gabbana, do you know? Like I had to have all those things. And then at some point along the way, maybe probably over 10 years ago, someone asked me, "Well, what are you gonna wear to the big event?" And I thought, well, I'm Paul Wharton. I mean, I'm gonna be there. I don't care what I'm gonna wear. I'm gonna be there. Like, the skin's gonna be right. I'm gonna have a sick blowout. You know what I mean? I'm going to come well rested with a good attitude. I'm gonna be smiling, throwing this hair around, and having a good
yes.
time. And the clothes are the clothes. I got the clothes. I mean, I have the stuff. You know what I mean? It's in the closet. But it doesn't define who I am anymore. And I think that's when I really started to consider myself like a real stylish person. Because before that, I was just buying things for a response and hoping that people felt like I was the person that they thought I was because I was wearing all that stuff, you
Yeah.
know? Because I didn't know who I was. But as soon as I learned who I was, yes. Do I still like to put it together? Absolutely. Is there a label here and there? No doubt about it. I mean, that's Dior, you know what I mean? But it's not,
Right.
whether it was on or not, I didn't even think about it until we're having this conversation.
Yeah,
Sometimes you
yeah,
just want to
yeah.
throw something on to kind of give you a little pizzazz. So I think that's what's most important. Your most important, back to what you said before, your most important accessory, yes, I do believe is confidence. And as you said about my book, pulling it all together, essential style advice on being beautiful. Who doesn't want to be beautiful? Confident, and most of all, happy. We're in a moment right now, especially in America, we're being pulled in so many different directions. I mean, we are hiding from life under the covers because it seems too abysmal to come outside. And
Yeah.
we are having a lack of joy and extraordinary experiences and connection. So I feel like that's what I wanna lean into, like confidence. Joy is the new black. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, it goes with everything, and we have to take that back. We have to do whatever we can in our own lives to go after our joy, no matter what our parents say, no matter what our lover says, no matter what our boss says or anyone else. If this thing is veering me this far away from joy, I gotta find my way back. And sometimes it takes a plan. You can't just drop everything and drop everyone. It takes a plan, but you can get back to joy. And I think that's what I want my legacy to be. I want someone to be able to say that Paul Wharton helped me find my way back to joy.
I love
That's
it.
why I'm here.
I love it.
Yeah.
Joy is the new black. It goes with
Joy is the new
everything.
black.
So good. So good. So especially Black culture, fashion has often been a form of resistance, self-definition, and community expression. How do you see style operating culturally beyond aesthetics?
How do I see style operating culturally beyond aesthetics? Well, beyond the aesthetics of it. Well, what's interesting? Who was I watching the other day? Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama had an interview the other day, and she basically said in the interview, if you're at a level where you can go out and buy Chanel, you can be supporting Black designers. Do you know what I mean? So I think to me, when people think of style and of fashion as me, 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 how do I look in this? When there's no meaning behind it, it doesn't, it's like worthless, right? When there's no meaning behind how you got there. Any of us like that watch like Maya Angelou and you see her in this old interview with Oprah or something, she's sitting around in her house and her brownstone in Harlem and she's, how I got over. Tell me how did you get over? I want
Right.
to know. I wanna know. And I think, you know, I think there's a hell of a story in people's fashion journeys, but if it's only a story about self, and if it's only a story about how others perceived you from a very narcissistic place, that ain't no story. You ain't got no story. You don't have anything you don't have anything of interest.
Yeah,
So I think that when you decide that you're going to support Black designers and designers of color, you are making a statement far beyond the current trend. That is something that will never go out of style.
yeah,
That is not a trend. That is a choice. That is a lifestyle. That's when what you wear becomes a lifestyle. So I think it's just really important that we think beyond the aesthetic and how is this keeping not only keeping that person's name out in the stratosphere, but all of the people that work with this designer from their hopefully from their management, from their distribution, from their manufacturing, from their PR. I love when I see a strong Black brand and they got a Black publicist and
mhm,
they, a Black team and the director of operations. And I'm just like, go right on ahead. Like,
yeah,
I will definitely support that all day long.
yeah, yeah, so good, so good. Have you ever had someone come to you thinking they needed a wardrobe overhaul, but what they really needed was permission to show up as their full selves?
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I think that happens all the time. I think that happens all the time. Years ago, Sherry Shepherd wrote a book called Permission Slips.
Hmm,
And when she came to DC, I hosted her book launch, which was a kind of in conversation with Sherry at the Thurgood Marshall Center here in DC. And she wrote that book because there was a lot of guilt around, I'm a working mother and I have a young child and I just feel like there's just so much guilt in all my decisions. And so she wrote this book basically giving herself permission to be who she is. And I thought
mhm,
at the time I was like, interesting, quirky, huh? I think as time has gone on over the years, like it makes a lot more sense to me.
mhm,
I think it is an inner dialogue that you need to have with yourself. I wouldn't at this stage and like put it in a book because at this age and stage of life, it's long past time to give myself permission to go where I want to go, do what I want to
yeah,
do. But it's tough though.
yeah,
Say what I
yeah,
wanna say. Okay, go where you wanna go. You're an adult and you have living parents, they're still gonna think you're their kid. So, doesn't matter how old you get, you got a mama like mine, call me
yes.
when you go, call me when you get there, when the plane lands. Well, wait a minute, maybe I don't want you to know exactly where I'm you got a little I got a little plan. Or wait a minute now. I wasn't going straight to the thing, I got a little stop along the way, you know?
Yeah,
But, it continues to happen, like, even in my business, when you work with brands, okay, everybody wants a brand deal, and you want to be an ambassador with big brands. Well, I've been working with brands for many years, and it is stifling. When you're having a moment like this that we're having right now, when we're being faced with fascism and the murder we saw and the gaslighting from these people saying, "Well, that's not what you saw." You want to get on there and say, "I know you're not lying to me, and that's what I saw." And you've got all these other things to then consider. Okay, but now we're at such a point in life will be where we have to make that choice. Fight the cash. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm hoping for all these creators out here that you're never in that position where you feel like you can't really speak your mind because if you do, you risk the foundation coming out from under you. But as we said earlier in this conversation, that pivot is so important because you can get really comfortable with that good corporate cash. And then something like this happens in life, and you think, My platform, no matter how small or big, it's important for me to speak to the people that are listening to me and for me to speak up,
Yeah, yeah.
and have something to say. And what do they say, Colby? If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. I
Anything.
think that I think that we're all seeing that up close and personal right now. So anything to get people's attention, whether it be your hair, your skin, your makeup, your amazing sense of dress, to get their attention. And once you do, you need to say or do something that is profound,
Mm,
that is meaningful, that encourages people to think and connect and have dialogue with each other. Because that's the moment
yeah,
we're in right now. So, yeah, use your
yeah.
fashion for good, and that's how you can do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So you've been sharing your philosophy through your work for years on TV and media and in person. And at a certain point, you decided to put that into text with your book, pulling it all together, essential style advice on being beautiful, confident, and most of all, happy. What made you decide it was time to write a book?
So interesting. Every question you ask, it takes me back to it takes me back to some moment in my life where I decided to write this book many, many years before I actually did. When the original Queer Eye for the Straight Guy was on, they had decided to do a spinoff show, Queer Eye for the Straight Girl. All right.
Mm,
And they had narrowed this list of cast members down, of hosts down to this particular list, and they had given us, the contract, and it was a terrible contract. The money was awful. And it was out in LA, and I'd gone out to LA, and I was put myself up at the Mondrian, and I'd rented a yellow Hummer. That's how long ago this
mm,
was. Okay. but but I went on set to work with these other guys, and we were kind of role playing this makeover. And I was working with this woman, and then the one of the producers came out, and she says, or it was a he. He says, maybe you should kind of like, maybe you can get her to the point where she can like really express herself through like crying. Basically, he was like, make her
make a
cry,
try.
because crying leads to good ratings. And I said, well, I don't really want to make her cry because she's already here because she feels beat down anyhow. And he
Yeah,
says, well, how about if we just dismantle all this that's old and all of that, and we then build her back up? And through that, he was saying, go and, make her cry.
yeah, yeah.
And and I had this real moment on set, and I thought, I was 10 years old when my parents split up. And I remember seeing my mother we had a beautiful house and all these beautiful things. And it was a lot on her shoulders, to deal with a breakup from a man that brought in the kind of character my dad did. And then it was just us. It was my sister, myself, and my mother. And I remember going into her room one day, and she was curled up on her bed in the fetal position. And I just stood there in silence. I don't even know if she knew I was standing in the doorway. She was quietly sobbing. She never really did that in front of us because she wanted us to feel comfortable and safe. But I knew way back then at 10 years old, I said, you know what? For one thing, I'm gonna get out here and make me some money. I knew I was gonna do that. And this other thing I'm gonna do is I am going to respect Black women and women, but Black women, those are the women that raised me, um, to the point where they're going to want to be around me. I want to bring sunshine. I want to bring lightness. I want to unburden someone. So that was a very sensitive space for me to be in. Someone asking me to break down this woman and make her cry.
Yeah,
And I sat on set there, Colby, and I just said to everyone, you know what? Women have been through enough. We have the tools and the resources to let me meet you where you are, wrap my arms around you, and you and I are going to come up out of this. We're going to
yeah,
come up out of this. When you leave me, you are going to be a different person. You are always going to remember me, but I don't have to beat you down further. We don't have to beat this woman down further. Okay, so I thought it was great. I thought it was wonderful. I thought I got everybody to change their mind. My agent called and said, "You're going back to the East Coast." Basically, they didn't want me, and they didn't hire me.
wow.
So I knew I was on that plane ride, and I remember I said, "You know what? Maybe I can write this in a book. I'm going to write this in a book, and I'm going to talk about confidence, and I'm going to talk about, using what you have, starting where you are remixing the plan, being excited about your next right step forward.
Yeah.
That was the start of this book. And it took me many years to pull it all together because
Mm.
it was kind of like it was a project that I knew I wanted to see come to fruition, but
Mhm.
it took a backseat to many other things for many years. But that's when it started. And it started with that very powerful lesson of I'm not trying to break anybody any further down. I make it my business not to go out into the world in the morning and ruin someone else's day.
Right.
Caveat, that does not mean I'm a pushover.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You better come gentle when you're dealing with me. I mean, really. I mean, you know what I mean? Because I can like make your day or ruin it, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you've been out here as long as I have, you gotta be tough, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Despite the hair, despite whatever people think about being a gay man or whatever, or whomever, you ain't seen no shit
yeah,
like what I can bring. So in order to avoid that, and I use it sparingly, Colby.
yeah. Yeah.
I use it sparingly. But when I'm coming in response to something. And people
Yeah.
usually they're shocked and then they pull it back together. And I only use what I need to use. I don't go totally crazy. But I got a few tricks up my sleeve. Do you know what I mean? And then we can usually have a dialogue after. And it helps them in terms of them flowing through the world because the next time they see a gay black man that they think is a complete pushover or somebody that they can bully, run over, talk down to, they're going to think about the interaction they have with Paul Wharton. And they're
Yes.
probably going to decide to go in another direction and not ruin somebody else's day. So that's where I think the good comes out of me, like when I have to really get somebody together. I'm like, I'm doing, but sometimes I'll even say before, now listen, it's going to hurt. But I'm gonna do this. It's for your own good. You're gonna need a couple of weeks to get yourself back together. You definitely gonna have to call your therapist after you finish with me. But it happens so rarely. It happens so rarely because I want to go through life with joy. I love connections. I'm the kind of person at the grocery store. If somebody comes walking through the aisle and they're, oh, what you making? I will have a whole conversation about what I'm making. Oh, girl, oh, yeah, girl, and then I marinate it and then I put that over there. Oh, you gotta have you some spring onions. Oh, the girl, put those spring onions. I
Yeah.
love that kind of connection. I love that kind of connection. But yeah, many a time people have thought that they could, and I'm sure that they do it regularly with black men, gay black men. They just think that they can bully us, and we are men,
Yeah.
and you just have to watch what you say to anyone. You can't look at anyone and decide, oh yeah, that's the definition of a bully, right? You look at somebody and you think, oh yeah, they ain't gonna do shit. Yeah, I can get them. Watch this. I'm about to really intimidate them. And then they do the 1-2 on you. Next thing you know, either you laid out on the ground or you're in therapy for the next 5 years. You know what I mean?
That part. Yeah. Here we go. One of the things I love about the book is how it treats style in a holistic way. You talk about confidence, beauty, and happiness, and not just clothes. Why do you think people struggle so much with trusting their instincts about how they want to present themselves?
That's interesting. Trusting their instincts about how they want to present themselves. I think after doing this for many years, people don't feel like they are worthy of a consistent ritual. They don't feel like, when it comes to their nighttime routine, okay? So you will have people that can sit at a bar for 3 hours buying $20 cocktails. They buy 2 cocktails an hour, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, for 3 hours, okay? You tell them this book is $20 and they go like this.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know. Is it 20? Oh God.
Yes.
What do I get for that? Because this is all about enhancing them. This is not for I already got my money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like this is for that person. If I tell them that their nighttime skincare routine, you got to cleanse, you want to exfoliate, you want to tone, and the daytime you must sun protect, and at nighttime you need some kind of alpha hydroxy, beta hydroxy, retinol to reverse signs of aging, to clear your skin. Oh my that is too many
Too
steps.
much. Too much going on.
Too much. How much does that cost? Well, you can probably get all those products for like $100. So, and then be mad when they look old at 50. You know what I mean? It's just like you didn't do anything about it.
Yeah.
You didn't want to put anything into yourself. So I think that that's where the conversation really needs to start is people have to start acting like this thing is temporary. We ain't gonna be here always.
Yeah.
This is for a moment. Do you know what I mean? If you want the best experience out of what we're having here, what we're sharing here on this earth, my suggestion is you got to make some time and some effort and put some resources into yourself.
So good.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's where it starts. Stop putting yourself at the back of the line, the bottom of the
Mhm.
list. And when you look at most of the people that have that kind of mindset, and someone comes into their life, a boyfriend or a husband or a friend, they will give them the world to someone else.
Yeah.
To someone else. Now, whether that's your children are your responsibility, but that doesn't mean that you have to negate any time, effort, or resource that goes into yourself.
Right.
Your lover, if you're worried he's gonna leave you, and so that's why you're pouring so much into this person, they gonna leave anyway.
Exactly.
Because sooner or later, people get used to shit real quick, don't they, Colby? Now we can talk. See, the sun is going down, and
Yes.
we can really talk. You know what I mean? It doesn't take very long. I've dated all sorts of types. I've had types that are, oh, they're so holistic. Let's just do yoga and let's put our feet in the grass. Child, you come around that corner with that big car. You know what I mean? Next thing is that, where's the massage? Where I'm gonna lay my seat? I'm gonna lay my seat back. Well, wait a minute. You just you just came from a camp. Didn't y'all sleep outside? Now you want to be in the back of the car with a glass of champagne,
Yes.
laying your seat back.
Yeah.
People get used to stuff real quick. That means if the basis of the relationship can't be about you using all your time, effort, energy, and resources on someone else, they'll get used to it, and one day it will not be enough anymore.
Yeah.
So put all of that time and energy, resources, and effort into yourself first. And then you're gonna find, wow, I got a few compliments today. And the next day you go out, boy, I got a couple of phone numbers today. One about business. This other guy, gave me his phone number at the Starbucks because you start to emanate this energy. It's magnetic. It's magnetic. Have you ever felt like on the days you feel really good, you're not dragging, you're not tired, you're not dehydrated? Like, imagine living a whole life that way. Every day, you just feel better and better, and you're more consistent because your body and yourself and your mind knows, wow, he's really nourishing me.
Yeah.
That great food I got from the farmer's market. Ooh, I got all this water in me. Oh, I slept for 8 long hours and my skin feels good. My hair's grown out. Don't need no tracks. Do you know what I mean? That's a different kind of feeling.
Yes. Yes.
You don't even have to say much, Colby. You don't have to go out and announce to people, my skin's good. Uh-uh. No, because it's not about the skin. It's the glow
Yeah.
from within. But all of this starts with you putting that time, effort, energy, and resources into yourself
Yes.
and not someone.
Yes. Nourish yourself.
Now, I know I take the long way around,
No,
but there's a lesson.
it's great. It's great. Nourish yourself, people. Nourish yourself, and you will
Yeah.
begin to emanate and radiate this joy. That type of joy
Yes.
that is the new black, as you have coined it.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah. So when someone finishes the book, what internal shift do you hope happens before anything ever changes externally?
Well, I hope that they get that little glimmer of hope and excitement about what is possible internally. We're so used to external energy, external forces, but it can really change our whole mindset. And I always do like this, because that's like me listening to too much, me allowing too much input. And that could even just be something ridiculous on YouTube, a DUI chase like just letting that play in the background. And I'm like, why am I letting that in? So what I really hope when people finish this book, they put this book down and they keep it on their bedside table and they think, you know what? Every night I'm just going to pop to any page and I'm just going to get a little tip out of this. But I want them to be excited about what it would really mean if they put the tips, tricks, and secrets into action from this book or any book, anybody that you believe in, anybody that you can get some inspiration from. I mean, they can go on paulwhartonstyle.com and get this book signed and we'll send it to you. But I hope that people put this book down and feel super excited about the road ahead and they feel super hopeful that small changes, it's the little things. It's just the little things, making time for yourself, making space for yourself, your diet, a few simple exercises put into play. You don't have to get a gym membership to work out.
Yeah.
I go on my bedroom floor. I'm in my office. I go right down here.
Mhm.
I stretch. I can do my push-ups. I can do my sit-ups,
Mhm.
you know? And I have all these people that I encounter in life since I've been doing this work that have a problem for every solution. Oh, let me tell you why that won't work. Oh my God. I have to get the gym membership, but this is so expensive over here. And oh my God. And then my car, I can't go. And then at night I have to do, and I have no time. I got no bag to put my shoes. Uh-uh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you find people, stay away from people that have a problem for every solution.
Yes.
I'm the kind of person where you say, gosh, I really want to make this happen. And this is how I think. And I think, you know what? Yeah, I can see that. You know what else would do it? Maybe you add a little bit of this on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can get there faster. Yeah, you might. You might get there faster. But I don't come with, you know why that won't work? Let me tell you why this thing that you want to do will not work. I hear that energy coming and I block those external forces out.
Yeah.
Don't tell me all the reasons why this shit won't work.
Yeah.
If it won't work, if it's not meant to work, it becomes a spiritual thing for me.
Mm.
Yo, so it's not the path, huh? Okay, got it. But I don't want someone down here making me believe that something that starts as a thought
Mhm.
that I put on paper, that I'm being actionable and following it all the way through.
Yeah.
That's been my whole life.
Yeah.
That's how I keep the lights on up in this. You know what I'm saying? I start here, I write it down, I follow it all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't work, but that's between me and him.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not me and somebody down here telling me all the reasons why something won't work. I'll just share this last little bit. There was a woman called Dagmar. She owns Central Casting. Central Casting was like the top casting agency in DC. They would cast all of the movies. Whenever a movie would come to town, they would do all the commercials and anything related to that. They were over on Pennsylvania Avenue in Southeast. Since then, my good friend Linda Erkelishan, who was a Real Housewives of DC, she was one of the housewives on that. She's a good friend of mine. She owns the Artist Agency, one of DC's top modeling agencies. She's since recently bought Central Casting, and now it's THE Central Casting. But I went into Dagmar's office when right before I moved to New York at 19. I was either 18 or 19. I go in there and she sits me down and she has an open call and I've got my headshots done and I'm feeling, and mind you, I'd been working doing all these modeling gigs as a kid. And she sits me down and she says, oh, I don't normally do this because I don't have a lot of time, but I'm going to really tell you, I'm going to sit you down. I'm going to really give you my honest critique of you. And she was like, and I'm going to tell you why you will never work on camera. You are not meant to be in front of the camera. Nobody would hire you to be in their campaign with your big forehead, with your chin. Oh my God. She just went in on me. All the yes, and the women wouldn't want to, like, you can't play a male like lead, and then who would you play? It's like you wouldn't be a friend of a straight guy, and then I mean, there's just like no space for you. And I let her. Now the new me would have been like, at the very least, let me go.
Right.
Let me go before you have to call for the 911 to come over here. You know what I mean? Because it's just at some point in this interaction, it became
Yeah.
personal, and I'm willing to drag you out this place.
Yes.
So, but it didn't get to that. But I sat there and I let her tell me all these things. There was no breakdown. I didn't get in the car and fall apart. I had a Jaguar because when I was 16, I had a British Racing Green Jaguar XJ6. You think that a black man that had worked as hard as I have, is 16 years old, at a Jaguar XJ6, I'm gonna let this older white woman tell me all the reasons why. Talk about a problem for every solution. Oh, it will never happen to you. You will never work. It will, all these things. I just think about all of the people's whose dreams that she squashed, and it wasn't her place to do that. That's one of the reasons why I was the casting judge for Top Model for all of those seasons. Because as someone who developed models, as someone who coached models, and then it went on, I did Made on MTV, which was their highest original series ever, me making the girl into the model. That was in 2003. But as someone who had had that kind of experience with Dagmar and always hearing her name my whole childhood, Dagmar, Dagmar, central casting, Dagmar, that was a major day for me. I prepared for that day. I got headshots for that day to sit across the desk from this rapidly aging older woman
Mhm.
who was filled with vitriol and hate, tell me why I wasn't good enough and I could never make it. And so my message to the people is take it from me. Yeah, you can have a little moment. I remember that, but it did not stop me.
Yeah,
It did not divert me from my path.
yeah.
A problem for every solution. Uh-uh.
Mhm.
I'm not even hearing that. I'm not even taking that in. If I had believed those external negative forces, you and I would not be having this conversation right now. Maybe you're at the giant food and I'll be, oh, put some stovetop stuffing on. And that's fine. That's all good.
Yeah, yeah,
That's all good. I make a little stovetop every now and again. You know what I mean? But that's not why I'm here.
yeah.
I'm here because I didn't allow those negative forces and all that bullshit to trait who I am and how I feel about myself. You know what I mean? I kept going despite the big forehead. I kept going despite the fact that she thought I was a Nelly Queen and nobody would want to have me on anything and nobody would want to, despite the fact that she said I'd never be on anybody's news show. And why, how can I be a news and co-hosted Good Day DC for years and years and years and was the face of the CW for years and years and years and all of the things that I've done. If I had allowed it, that woman, Dagmar from Central Casting that so many people looked up to would have stopped me in my tracks. And so no, the answer is no. No to a problem for every solution.
So good,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
If someone listening wanted to start tomorrow, no shopping spree, no overhaul, what's one intentional change they could make to feel more aligned with themselves?
Well, I think they should look at anything that they're taking in, anything that they're ingesting that makes them feel deflated, tired, spacey, woozy. If you're really trying to change, you have to be aware. There is a time to have your joint and pop your gummy but keeping it 100 with you, I couldn't have done half the things that I've done in a state of being depressed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
In a state where I puff on something that makes me go like this.
yeah,
Okay. Now, I have my joint every now. I do. Right before bed, I have a little puff on my joint.
yeah.
But let me tell you something. I'm out here. You see this office? Do you see my office?
Yes.
Okay. Look, this is Paul Wharton Inc. over here. All right. I'm up in this. I'm up in this spot.
Mhm.
I am up in here. We run a business. I am the business. I eat off of this. I can't be like that and make things happen. So the first thing I would say is whether it's puffing on a joint, having your gummy, eating chocolate, a Snickers bar because it's like up, down. Whatever is taking your energy and putting it into a tailspin, you gotta lay low on that for a minute. Because that's how you know where you are. That's how you know where you're starting. You got to be present first, right? Before you can really take off. Because if you're from a state of, if you're always drunk, if you're always high, if you're always suffering from sugar highs and lows, um, if you don't do any bit of exercise, if you stay up all night long, doom scrolling and only get 4 hours of sleep, that ain't where you start. That is not where you start. Even when you detox, even when you go and you decide that you're going to detox. I go to this place called Life Co. And I start with a 3-day salad fast, and then I do 3 days of juice, and then I do 14 days of water.
Mm,
That's why they give you the salad first for the 3 days. Okay, because I'm digesting. Okay, I'm going to do, and then they give you the supplements and the green juice because I'm preparing to detox. So you can't think that you're going to be in a depressed, pressed place, and you're going to put this book down, and the next day be like that if you haven't made any changes in your life.
Yeah.
You know? You gotta sacrifice something to get everything. And so a lot of this, a lot of movement, a lot of shifting. I don't know if any of your listeners have ever felt when something major is about to happen for them. I mean, something big. They can look back and they're like, that was the moment. There's all this resistance right before.
Yes.
My God, what's going on? And then they think, oh, is Mercury in retrograde or what's going on with you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like, because there's about to be major movement. You got to push through the resistance and you have to be okay with being uncomfortable. You have to be okay with being hungry, with your stomach growling. My stomach's growling. I don't know if you hear it. I hope it's okay. And because I'm in a state where I'm just like, okay, I'm testing the limits with my fasting bit, because it's the winter.
Yeah, yeah,
I've made all the food, I've baked all the
yes,
things, I did it all. Okay, now it's time for me to feel a little hungry.
yes.
It's time for me to feel hungry because spring is coming, summer's coming. I am working on my next chapter. I have a new show called Day of the Dinner on Homeworthy. I don't know.
Mm,
Do you know about that?
that's amazing. No, tell us more.
Yes. So Homeworthy is a channel that started in 2021. I'd expanded to London in 2020 for your viewers that don't know that. I got a place over there in August of 2020. And I started watching this channel on YouTube called Homeworthy. And they went around, they featured the homes of really talented interior designers from all over the world. And it was just captivating the way that they told these stories. I love rooms and homes with story, you know like, if we did a tour of my office, I could keep you in here for about 5 hours because everything here, the art, the pictures, the books, the keepsakes, the wallpaper, I replaced the ceiling, like live trends, everything has story,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And that's a life well lived. So I was really attracted to Homeworthy. And then OK Magazine in the UK, they came to do a feature on my house in London. All right. So they did this video. It was similar to what they do on Homeworthy, different. That was out there. And the head of Homeworthy, the woman who founded it, I believe she saw that feature and somehow we connected on Instagram. And she said that she had met me through this mutual friend of ours at a party years ago. She was the former executive producer of Good Morning America, and she had started this. And she said, "Oh, I'd love for you to come do something on Homeworthy." And at the time, I had just done the OK Magazine, so I said, "I love Homeworthy. I want it, but I'll know when the time is right. But it's not now." That's another thing. Timing has to be right. So I said, "Oh, it's not now." Anyway, we kept in touch for all these years, and I loved Homeworthy when I was like an evangelist for Homeworthy. Oh my God, have you seen Homeworthy? Have you seen Homeworthy? Have you seen Homeworthy? So I ended up having this meeting with her and her husband, Michael, who is the CEO of Homeworthy. And they said, you know what? We love you, and we'd love for you to come host a show, a series on Homeworthy. And I had decided long before we had that conversation that I wanted to host a series on
yeah,
that one else beers are worthy. And so I have a new show called Day of the Dinner. And Day of the Dinner essentially is a show where I will have a friend who is a very spirited home entertainer, kind of like me. I love having people over. I like to cook. I like to have those moments with people. So on Day of the Dinner, I go to my friend's house. We decide that we're doing this, let's just say dinner, this episode, the first one that launched, this dinner for 18 people. All right. And we pull the flowers and we set the table and we, create the cocktails and we cook the dinner and we set everything up and we decide. And so the viewer at home, what I'm hoping, my intention for the viewer at home is that it breaks down a lot of the fear and the intimidation of entertaining at home,
yeah,
of being judged, of feeling like you're not mature enough, or you need a bigger house, or you need more money, or you need a partner. All those stories that we tell ourselves or that we've allowed in. and they have stuck that stop us from what? Living in our joy, right?
Yeah.
Because we're waiting until we have more money. We're waiting until we have a bigger house or until someone says to us that they love us. And so we can open the door as a couple. And then that's when I'm going to start having people over in my house. Pull that tea set that your grandmama gave you out from the back of the,
Right.
dust it off and let's have a tea party. And I'm going to show you how to do it. So that is the show. And I always have with whichever friend of mine I'm doing it with, then we do a separate episode where I do a tour of their house. So check out Homeworthy, Day of the Dinner. And I have a very exciting new brand I'm working on. I believe I found my next home that will be forever is a topic where I'm just like, I don't really believe in forever because this is so
Yeah.
temporary, but maybe it's my forever home. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a place that I'll be carried out feet first and be okay with that. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay.
Like, so, but there's all sorts of things that go into making that happen. It's a big undertaking, but I have this idea to make this home and space into a pretty phenomenal brand. But very authentically, this will be my home where I live. But I will develop this garden and I will redesign this house and I will host events and have people over and have Michelin star chefs doing cooking classes. And I will make it a space for people to come and feel renewed, to feel inspired, and to feel like they got some clarity on their next right step forward when they leave there. That's what I'm working on now.
Love it. When does the show come out?
The show's out. It just came out. So it's live on Homeworthy. Day of the Dinner. You can just go on Homeworthy's YouTube channel. They're also on Disney Plus and Hulu, although I just watch on YouTube. And people can go to paulwhartonstyle.com to buy either Pulling It All Together, Essential Style Advice and Being Beautiful, Confident, and Most of All Happy, or my latest book, which is Pretty Twisted, The Ultimate Guide to Creating Fabulous Craft Cocktails at Home. And Patty LaBelle, who I got my Emmy nomination with doing
Mm,
Home for the Holidays with me and Patty at her house. She actually wrote my cover quote, Paul is the king of fabulosity. We have a great time anytime we're together.
yeah.
So I'm happy that he's sharing some of his fabulous cocktail recipes with the rest of us. Cheers to the good life, Patty.
Love it.
And let me tell you something, Colby, about her writing that quote because I needed to get it to in and get the cover done. And so I'd reached out a few times and I said, Oh, Patty, just have your publicist write it because I needed it. No, 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 I'm going to do it. So she made sure that she sat down and wrote that. So it's all very special. And I share over 52 cocktail recipes, the history of the cocktails. There's all sorts of stories about where I was in the world when I experienced the different cocktails and how I kind of made them my own. It's a really beautiful, kind of glossy coffee table book. And if you buy those on paulwhartonstyle.com, then I sign those. So yeah.
Perfect. Love it. Last question, Paul, and I want the answer to be really simple. What does it really mean to be well dressed?
Well, that's an inside job, right?
Yes.
Right? That's an inside job. And I know you want it to be simple. I would just say, if you feel you look good, what do I have to do with that? That ain't none of my business.
Yeah.
Ain't none of my business. If you go out there wearing something where you're like, I'm unsure, now that's where someone like me can come in with some input. But if you know for sure that you are feeling like this is the best day you've ever stepped out of your house, then I think that you're well dressed. I do. I mean, in terms of just catching the eye, I mean, balance, something that shows a silhouette, something that really works for your style, fabrics and materials that look fresh and well cared for, whether they're new or vintage. There is a certain maintenance to your clothing items that you have to adapt how you treat them. If you pull something off and throw it across the room and throw it on the floor, you don't care for it properly and don't have it steamed out nice or take it to the good dry cleaner and not the one that cracks all the buttons and,
The good one.
makes everything look all slick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to find that the response and the reception that you're going to be getting from people as it relates to how you dress and the way you feel in those clothes is going to be exponentially different. It's going to make you want to do that more and put more time and energy into yourself because you're going to love the feeling of making somebody else's day with just your confidence, just you walking down the street, just you being in your own flow, you know? It is really addictive when you find your flow and you figure out the formula to that fabulous, to
Mm,
your own little formula that makes you feel like you're on top of the world. And that's what I hope that I've helped to bring to the world in any small way that I help to bring through, this book and through, I do life coaching usually for all these executives and CEOs. And I'm trying to figure out a way, and I'm working with someone right now so that I can put that same energy and effort into everyday people with me just being one person. Do you know what I mean? So I'm trying to figure out how to get that to the people. And there are all these ways and courses and all that, but I want it to be something meaningful and I want to be able to interact and respond and put my little tidbits in that are unique just to that person.
mhm.
So that's also what I'm working on right now because I love being a positive part of the solution. Yeah, I do. That's what I want to be.
Amazing. Paul, thank you for the insight, the warmth, and the way you talk about style as something deeply human and something deeply expressive. Again, tell us how we can stay updated on all this happening in your world.
Fantastic. Well, you can follow at Paul Wharton Style on Instagram. I also started a Day of the Dinner on Instagram. You can look up my new show on Homeworthy, which is on YouTube. Look up Homeworthy and Day of the Dinner. And then you can go to my site, paulwhartonstyle.com, and you can buy signed books and you can find out about upcoming events and the different things that we're doing. And I just thank you so much, Colby. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I will share that I've gotten in the mindset unless I'm promoting something new, I usually just when people ask me to do this type of thing, I just don't do, no, I'm not available. And I thought there was something about energetically where I was like, you know what? Maybe shift that because whether you're promoting a new project or not, you have something to share with this person and his viewership.
Yes.
So commit to the time, make time to do it, share your most authentic self. And if it lands with even one person that feels a bit inspired, then it was worth it.
Yeah.
So thank you for extending yourself. And I hope I get a chance to see you in person and interact with you in some positive way. And I just wish you all the very best in all that you're doing. And I think you're very positive and you're very inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Paul. This has been amazing. Family, if this episode resonated, take some time with Paul's book, Pulling It All Together, and start thinking about style as a reflection of confidence, joy, and intentional presence. This has been the Kolby Kulture Show. I'm Kolby, and however you show up tomorrow, make sure it looks like you. Peace. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow the show wherever you listen to your podcast. Watch, like, and subscribe on YouTube. And please feel free to give us a 5-star rating. See you on the next one.